Hey, fellow Schneider drivers, Friendly Bill coming at you. This is going to be take 2 of this video. The first time I made it, it was a rant, and I watched it, and I kind of came away with, is this helpful to anybody? And I want my videos to be helpful, so I'm going to try this again. Second take. First and foremost, I wanted to give a shout out to Josh the vegan. We talked in the Phoenix OC yard, and he's been with Schneider for since August, I think he said. I hope I'm getting that right. But he's got kind of a cool job. He was trained to do reefer, flatbed, and van. And it's a salary position from what I understand, and he gets bonuses for staying out past 3 weeks. Sounds pretty cool to me. I like learning as much as I can. I didn't know Schneider had a flatbed, and then they didn't have a flatbed, and I guess they have a flatbed again. So he's learned a lot in a short time, which is pretty cool. So I guess that's posted on schneiderjobs.com or whatever. But yeah, there's that. So Josh the vegan, I salute you. Secondly, my first attempt at this video was kind of a rant, and I'm going to try to restructure this. So we all have bad days in trucking, and a bad day in trucking for me is a day where I'm just sitting all day and I'm waiting on a load that's only 100 miles. It's kind of a BS load. So the problem, what compounds this issue, is that I'm actually due home for guaranteed home time, and instead of getting me a good load headed north, because I'm in Phoenix and my home time is in Portland, and instead of getting me a load that's headed north, I am sitting all day for a load that doesn't pick up until 1 o'clock in the morning on the 23rd, and then is a live unload on the 23rd. So now I'm looking at, okay, all that BS, I'll have a little bit of the 23rd and the 24th and the 25th to get from Phoenix to Portland. And you know, I don't like relying on anybody to do anything, because I am often disappointed. So what can I do to fix problems? And I've been a driver for Schneider for 4 years, and sometimes they get me home on time, and sometimes they don't. So that's reality. That's just the truth. And sometimes they get me home on time, and sometimes they don't. Well, I have joint custody of my 2 young children, and my ex-wife makes plans based on my guaranteed home time. So I get guaranteed home time because I am the custodian of my young children. I have to be home at a certain time. This is not just go home, drink beer, watch TV time. This is, I am a custodian of young children. I absolutely have to be home on time. So I get guaranteed home time. And what I started doing was asking for more days ahead of time to make sure that I would get home on time. And I found out that even doing that wasn't a guarantee that I was getting home on time. So what I do now is I take the initiative. So for instance, let's say my home time is 4 or 5 days away, and I'm very far from home. I start making phone calls. I call every day. I send a message every day. Hey, I need to get home. Is there a plan to get me home? Hey, I need to get home. Just so that I make it perfectly clear that I am taking the initiative and that I need to get home. Because if you just sit back and hope for the best, you will often be disappointed. So you have to take the initiative. And I know it's a little bit frustrating. Why do I have to force the company I work for to get me home on time when I, as a driver, am expected to be on time every time, all the time? no matter weather conditions or where it is or when it is, I'm expected to be on time. Why should the company not be expected to get me home on time? I know it's confusing and frustrating, but what can we do? Well, like I said, I start sending messages, I start making phone calls, and if there's any question on whether I'm going to be home on time, I demand a rental car or a flight home. And that is a giant pain in the butt, because if I get a rental, I have to get an Uber to the rental. I have to get the rental. I have to drive the rental. In this case, would be 1,400 miles from Phoenix to Portland or whatever it is. So that's at least a 2-day trip of driving. Am I getting paid to drive home? That's a good question. Probably not. So I'm working for 2 full days driving myself home because the company was unable to get me home on time. But yeah, that's kind of a situation that happens. So who's to blame for not getting someone home on time? Well, it's not the DBL's blame, because they don't plan the loads. You'd have to say that it's probably the fault of the planner, and I'm not putting all the fault on the planner. I think the planner probably gets pressure from higher up to make certain things happen. And if the planner could push a button and make everybody happy, I'm sure they would push it. But the planning, I was sent from Washington State down to Phoenix. Was there a plan to get me back up into the north? As a planner whose job it is to plan, you would think that they would have a plan. If they're sending, they can see when someone's due home. If they can see that you're due home and they send you so far from home, is there a plan to get you back? And if there's not a plan to get you back, that's a failure to plan. And if your job is planning and you're failing to plan, that's a problem. I'm a driver, and if I'm unable to drive, am I a driver? No, I'm not a driver if I'm unable to drive and I call myself a driver. So if the planner's unable to plan, that's a problem. But that's a little bit of a rant. What can we do to fix this? Start calling a week out in advance. Hey, is there a plan to get me home? Oh yeah, sure, there's a plan to get me home. Okay, you get a crappy load that goes nowhere. Hey, next day, is there a plan to get me home? Oh sure, there's a plan to get you home, and a plan that goes in the wrong direction. Yeah, I need to verify that there's a plan to get me home, and if not, we need to start talking about arrangements. Do we need to get plane tickets? Do we need to get a rental car? We got to start planning on that. And don't let them off the hook. Make sure you start getting answers, because what can happen is like, oh yeah, we'll take care of you. All right, bye. And then they go back to doing whatever they were doing. So you really have to hold them, get them on the hook. Sorry, I just witnessed something. But anyway, yeah, I just witnessed a driver forgot to unhook his cables, and he yanked him. So as a Schneider employee, should I report that? I'm not going to report that. I'm not going to go into that. Okay. So anyway, yeah. If you're due home on time, you have to take the initiative if you want to be home on time. That's what this video is about. Take the initiative. Friendly Bill. Catch you on the flip. Beep-pew!